So we're going to have a look at a case study now and look at how you can apply this to a real life situation. So here's an example. This case study is all about how can you get people to do something on time. For example, file their expense reports, do their timesheets, get things on time. I coach a lot of people, a lot of managers who are so frustrated by this. They say, why won't people just do what they're supposed to do? Why won't they submit their reports on time? So let's have a look at how you can apply this three-step formula to a scenario like this. So meet Barbara. Barbara is a CFO in a consulting firm, and she's fuming again about the monthly expense reports that have not been submitted. And this happens every month. At least 30% of the group don't submit on time, and sometimes more than that. And this puts enormous pressure on her and her team in the accounts team, because they're expected to close the company books on time, and expense reports are part of that. So Barbara's really frustrated about this, and what she does every month is she starts her nag email. She sends them all an email full of underlined words and exclamation marks. She wonders why she's got to shout and push and shove people before they do what they're supposed to do. But then she stops and remembers that she's just learnt about this three-step formula, and she decides to apply it. So she starts thinking about the current process. Is it too complicated for some people? Is it paralysing the rider? Maybe it is clear, but the elephant would rather do anything other than an expense report. Or maybe the reporting system itself has got some barriers in it that her team isn't aware of. So she knows that something has to change, and that getting the expense reports in on time is not optional. So here's how the 3 steps could apply. So keep thinking about your situation as we go through this. So here's what she did. She got very clear on what was required. She used the 4 Ps. So this is about expense reports have to be in on time, and she went through the 4 Ps to look at that. And then she looked at finding the bright spots. So she looked at the people who were submitting on time, these 70% or so who were submitting on time. What are they doing? She was very curious about what are they doing differently. And then she looked at what must be stopped or let go. So what are these people, the laggards, doing? What are the people not getting it on time doing? What stops them from complying? Because it's hard to get clear if you don't know what the barriers out there might be. Then she thinks about motivating the elephant and finding the feeling. Now this might be something, expense reports. Can we find the feeling about expense reports? But what Barbara found was that the people actually did care about the members of her team, and that they knew that when they didn't put the expense reports in her team, like there was a team member called Maria who was having to put the expense reports in, they were actually letting her down. And once she made it personal, and they all learned that Maria was so impacted by their behaviour, well, they did care about her. So that was something that they wouldn't do deliberately, and it made them more aware of that. So then it was about shrinking the change into small steps and using the control, understanding, support and priorities. So she was starting to think about how can we make these reports easier. So that was really good in terms of the steps needed, step by step, like a process to follow. And then it was about helping people understand and identify with the new. So remember, people are sensitive to social norms and want to do well. So she started making it rewarding to be part of the 70% group. You know, that was the group that got lots of attention rather than the other group. And there were, you know, like little acknowledgements for this group of the 70% group. So the growth mindset was starting to think about what new skills or attitudes were required. What sort of help do people need to be able to fill in an expense report easily? And then the environment. She started thinking about, was there something the accounts department could do to make the reports easier? So she started thinking about the templates themselves and whether she could just fill in the blanks so that it was really easy for people to fill in these expense reports in more of a template format. And then what she did was she shared the routines of the high achievers. So the people who were completing on time, she started sharing their information around and encouraging these new habits with the others. And she also got a small group of laggards together. They became a little bit of a buddy group in terms of we're working together to make this behaviour change. And then rallying the herd was all about encouraging and rewarding the new behaviours, the right behaviours, and acknowledging progress, getting timely feedback. And they started to make it a bit of a game or a challenge, you know, like there were like rewards for people who were getting them in on time and things like that. So remember that what looks like a people problem is often a situation problem.